Okay, we have a nice little quick, easy lesson here. It's not really all that relevant other than I know there's a problem on ACT like it. I don't use the tools here a lot in my class when I'm teaching, but I'm going to teach it just so you know it. And there's a little checklist to go through. It's actually really easy. But first, I'm going to torture this fat cat here, give you some entertainment. Come here. Hey. Hey. Shh. God, you're fat. What do they feed you? Huh? Jelly belly. Oh, yeah, it's really hurting me, isn't it? Look at that skin of steel. Probably helps it doesn't have any claws. Alright, so alright, yeah, he hates me. Then again, I'm not a big cat fan, so makes sense. Alright. Now, what you're going to do is just get, these directions are messed up. It's just should say convert from standard form to slope intercept form. Okay. All right. So the first thing you want to do is circle the y term. Okay. You can put a 1 if you want. That's fine. Because a lot of times there is a number there. So we'll just go with 1. Okay, we need to undo the x term by adding or subtracting. So we want a minus 4x, but however, 6 and 4x aren't like terms. 6 doesn't have an x, 4 does. So on the other side, it must go behind the 6, so minus 4x. You can't minus 4 and say it's 2x. No, if it's 6x minus 4x, you would, but it's 6. So I have 1y equals 6 minus 4x. Okay, now divide everything by the y coefficient. Actually, I don't have to because it's a 1. So it's in standard form. And that'd be the m and that'd be the b. You don't need to put m and b. It's m here because that's what's in front of x. Okay, and the other number that has nothing to do with x, that's your b. Okay, let's do another one. So circle your y term. Undo the x term by adding or subtracting. So minus 6x. Minus 6x. So I have 5y equals 30 minus 6x. Okay. Alright, now I'm going to divide by the y coefficient 5. So I'm going to divide by 5 here. And when you divide, everything's got to be divided by 5. Okay? And you're like, well, yeah, just you need to divide everything by the y coefficient. So 30 gets divided by 5, and so does the negative 6. Okay? So y equals 30 divided by 5 is 6. You can put minus, or you can make that plus negative if you want. Okay? And then negative 6 divided by 5, negative 1.2. Okay? You can put negative 1.2x, or if you get a decimal on the x, okay, you can just leave it as y equals 6 plus negative 6 over 5x. Either one's good. I'll take this or this. It doesn't have to be both, just whichever one's better. Because a lot of times in front of the x, we kind of want a fraction because that's a slope. So m, b. But it doesn't matter. Okay. Okay, last problem. Now, circle the y term and know the coefficient. Okay. So here's my y, coefficient's negative 3. Okay, undo the x term by adding or subtracting. So we're going to minus 2x. And remember that on the other side it goes behind the 10 because 10 and 2x would not go together. You would not be able to subtract those. You just keep them separate. Okay, so I have negative 3y equals 10 minus 2x, and then we're going to divide everything by negative 3. Just every single number. They cancel there. So y. Okay, so 10 divided by negative 3, negative 3.3. Again, that decimal kept going, so I'm just going to leave it as a fraction. So I'm just going to put the negative in front of the fraction. And then I'm going to take, plus, I'm going to take negative 2 divided by negative 3. Negative because that minus sign, plus negative. Okay, again, that's a decimal, and I'm fine with decimals, but when they repeat like that, you probably want to just leave it in fraction form, okay? Now, there's two negatives, so then the negatives can be eliminated, okay? And there we go. And remember, the coefficient on the x is your m, and that's your b. And you're like, well, why are they switched? Because the x term, just so happens that the x term ended up behind it. It doesn't matter, really, the order, okay? So follow those steps, and I'm going to write decimals are okay as long as they terminate or end, okay? If they don't terminate like they didn't here, you just leave it as a fraction. Put the negative in front. If there are two negatives, just get rid of them, okay? All right. And again, here's the y, 1y, 2y. Make that plus negative, and bada bing. Okay. Remember, add or subtract that over here, then divide everything by the y coefficient.